Hi, Kate Mulberger here. I'm back for another installment of my video series on how should I quilt this quilt. I get asked that question a lot, and during COVID, I started filming my progress on how I take it step by step and quilt my quilts. So today I'm gonna start with a quilt that I have been working on for a while. I'm promising myself that I will get out some old projects and finish them up. And in 2023, this is the first one on my list. It is a scrappy quilt that I used all of my Joe Morton scrap fabrics, the Civil War fabric lines. And I love the quilt, and it's going to actually be for me to use as a warm throw. I'll show you now the quilt itself. So as you can see, this is my quilt. It measures about 84 by 64, somewhere in that range, and it is very scrappy. It is a simple snowball block if you look closely. This was inspired by a post on the Temecula Quilt Company blog. I used my scraps, as I said, and created this. So now my question, of course, is how should I quilt this? I've gone ahead and basted the layers. I like to use safety pin basting, and I have already quilted around the outside edge of the quilt, which is something I like to do. It seems to work well for me. So my next job is to anchor the entire quilt so that I'm then free to do free motion or ruler work as I'm inspired. So I will probably go row by row and anchor around each of the snowballs and then take it from there. I have now finished anchoring this quilt both in the border ditches and row by row, horizontally and vertically. I will caution you that I did not do every vertical row in order like this. I did every third row. So maybe this one, and then I'll skip the next two and do then the fourth row. Then I did the horizontal ones the same way, and then went back in and filled in the rows that I skipped. This just seems to keep the whole quilt nice and even, and allows me to fill in gradually rather than doing close stitching too close together. So my next step is to decide if I want to do more quilting, what I want to do in the snowballs. So I have decided that I'm going to do a 1/4 inch in because you can't see the ditched quilting. So I want to do a 1/4 inch in on each snowball, and I do have some started here. This one is still under my machine. I have just completed the 1/4 inch in Echo. And then on this block, I have used my ruler to get some nice gentle curves on both diagonals, like that. So I think it looks nice. I might go ahead and do all the light colored snowballs this way. They're every other one. And then I'll decide a different design maybe for the darker snowballs. Okay, I have completed the quilting in each of the snowballs. I liked it so much that I decided to go ahead and do this design in both the light fabrics and the dark fabrics. It took a little bit of time, but I'm very happy with the results. So now I'm going to go ahead and quilt this outside border as my last step. And I played around with a sample fabric. I usually do this just because before I go to the quilt. So I'm going to echo that design that I put in each snowball in the exact middle of the border. So in this section, I'm going to echo that design, and then work to the right with my feather design, And then once I get clear to the cornerstone, I will then do the same thing, doing the feathers to the left. That's the plan. This quilt is now finished. I did use the feather design on the borders. I used the Amanda Murphy feather ruler. Maybe you can see it a little better here. I do feathers free motion, but this was such a long straight stretch. I thought it would help, and it did help tremendously to have a ruler as a guide. I did change my mind. I did not use, oops, sorry. I did not use this design in the center of each border. I went ahead and picked something. I tried it and it was just too much. So I chose a much simpler design to be right in the center of each feather section. And I'm very happy with that. And as you can see, I did echo that same snowball design in the corners then too. The binding is finished, and I know I mentioned earlier in this video that I was keeping this for myself, but I did put a label on this one, and it is going out the door this afternoon to a friend who's having some tough times. So this one is out of my closet, crossed off my list, finished, and hopefully it will bring some comfort. Hope this was helpful.